Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Christine Alilovich. I'm the Assistant City Manager, and I'm really sad that I'm not there this evening with all of you in person. I'm still recovering from unfortunately getting COVID last week, so wanted to keep you all safe. I am very grateful and appreciative for the Voces del Canal, Dominican University, and Canal Alliance and this partnership that has grown over the last few months, and just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the presenters and the project team for doing such an amazing job tonight, for sharing their research and their very hard work that they brought to us and have been willing to work with us on how do we solve these problems together. I wanted to just briefly highlight on the process side of things, the workshop that was highlighted in the project team presentation, where a number of city staff and Councilmember Uran Scalati was there as well, along with members of the police department and the public works department and our data team. It was one of the best community meetings I've ever been a part of. And I think what really made it such a great experience was the collaboration and that deep sense of partnership that we established in that room together, of commitment to make things better and to really listen. And I just wanted to reinforce the city's commitment and how much we care about making the improvements that are so important to our community. Both the Director of Public Works, Bill Guerin, and the Police Chief, Dave Spiller, are here tonight to talk specifically about what we are doing in response to those recommendations and what we're going to continue to do together moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Director Guerin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Bill Guerin, the Director of Public Works. I wanted to just reiterate what our Assistant City Manager said. The meetings we had, both the public meeting where the photos were exhibited and the working session that we had, was really a terrific opportunity to get to know people better. Got to know a lot of these folks at the meeting, and just the energy in the room about generating ideas and trying to solve problems for San Rafael was really heartwarming and heartfelt. So I really enjoyed the session and want to continue to work on the issues that are being addressed by this group. I'm going to go through some things that we have done in the past, and some things that we are doing, and then what we hope to do in the future to address the issues that are being talked about here, because they are very important. We've made several crosswalk improvements in the Canal area. We got funding recently from TAM, and we created new curb ramps, lighting, and rectangular rapid flashing beacons at crossings at the Bellum Boulevard and Vista Del Mar, the Medway Road and Front Street intersections, Medway Road and Mill Street, Kerner Boulevard and Sonoma Street, Canal, Spinnaker Streets, and Bahia Way, and finally at Belvedere Street and Vivian Place. We also installed new lighting at Bellum Boulevard and Windward Way. So those intersections, those crosswalks, have been improved with rapid flashing beacons and additional lights. Excuse me. We've also made parking improvements in the Canal area. That's been an ongoing issue for years and years and years. It was one of the issues that the city manager gave to me when I actually came to work here 6 years ago, and it continues to be a problem, but we have made some improvements, and we're looking for other opportunities there as well. We've made changes to the parking durations. We've created additional parking where it's possible to do so. We've installed pavement markings to better define the spaces available, and installed angled parking at Bellum Boulevard and Kerner Boulevard. And we'll soon be building out additional parking near Pickleweed Park, a project that you approved a while back, but it's taken some time to get the regulatory approvals to put that in place. The city also formed the East San Rafael Parking Task Force, and a couple of the members of Voces del Canal are part of that team as well. And we're working with them to create other opportunities to generate ideas and get opportunities and figure out what else we can do to make parking better in this part of San Rafael. We are making sidewalk improvements. A lot of the issues that were addressed in the photos were kind of obvious problems that we needed to take care of. So we've contracted with Precision Concrete that has been doing a lot of sidewalk shaving in San Rafael over these past several years. And they're going to make a pretty significant investment in the Canal area to shave the sidewalks, eliminate the bumps that are there, and make it more safe for people to walk through. And several areas they identified that need to actually have sidewalks replaced. We'll be working with the adjacent homeowners and finding ways for the commercial industry there to help us make improvements to the sidewalks as well. But in response to the Dominican effort in the Voces del Canal, DPW is going to add lights at the picnic area and close vicinity at Pickleweed Park. That was called out in several times. That a lot of people are sitting there, they're gambling at night, and it makes it an unsafe environment for families and children to play there. So we're going to try to illuminate that. So it's I guess less inviting for those kinds of activities and more inviting for family activities, so people can feel comfortable at Pickleweed Park when they go there. We've also identified of the 7 paths that were presented tonight. We took a hard look at those. 2 of the paths are more challenging to work on. The Bahia neighborhood is private, so we're going to work with that community to figure out how to illuminate the Bahia path. And the Starkweather path is full of regulatory agencies that are responsible for maintaining that path. So we have our work cut out for us to get approval to do lighting there. But on the other 5 paths, we found 45 locations where there is an existing power pole that doesn't have a light on it. So we're going to put a light on those. And there's also 65 other locations where the lights we put up are we thought of them as more soft lighting, and we're going to increase the wattage of those lights so that the 5 streets that were identified by the group are more well illuminated. We're working with PG&E now to make that happen. It requires approval by PG&E to put those in place, but they've certainly exhibited cooperation and interest in helping us do that. And they're setting up a meeting to go through the power poles that we want to put lights on. And we've already worked with DC Electric to get pricing, and we're kind of ready to move as soon as PG&E approves that. We've set aside $100,000 in the CIP for this effort, and whatever it takes to make that happen, we'll figure out a way to fund it. We also have a community-based transportation plan underway now. A lot of people have been participating in that in the Canal neighborhood. It's a funded effort by TAM. It's specifically intended to find transportation improvements, which include sidewalks, it includes bike paths, it includes streets, it includes anything related to transportation, and is specifically designed to go after grant funding. So it's a requirement of grant funding to have this community-based transportation plan in place. TAM funded it. We contracted right away with Fair and Peers to make that happen. And there's been a series of community meetings where ideas are being generated by people who use this area every day. And it'll culminate in a report that will be used to go seek grant funding in the future. So it's a great, confluence of events that's happening right now to find funding and bring light to the Canal area. So that's my report. I just wanted to make sure you knew what was happening. Thank you all. I'll introduce Chief Spiller, who I think is also. Was unable to make it tonight, but he is.
There he is. Yep. Thank you, Director Karen.
Good evening, Mayor Kate, members of the council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I share my regret, excuse me, for not being able to be in attendance tonight as well. Similar to the Assistant City Manager, I am concluding my COVID isolation after a recent positive test. So let me first say thank you to this project team, who is a real grassroots effort to work together as a community and coming forward to share these significant safety issues. The San Rafael Police Department is happy to have been at the table, to have been a contributor with this project team. Similar to Director Guerin, the police department has done a bit of work this past year. Last spring, shortly after being appointed as your new police chief, I had the opportunity to meet with Voces del Canal, and I was really able to engage in a listening campaign with leadership in the Canal community to hear these concerns, to hear how these quality of life issues are affecting them, are affecting their families and members of the community in the Canal. As a result of that information, I was able to work with police department staff to commit to directed patrols, to directed enforcement throughout the area, not only from patrol resources, but also through the dedicated work of our street crimes unit, which is basically a directed enforcement unit that has been near exclusively deployed in the Canal neighborhoods. We have managed directed enforcement through our traffic resources, both in response to collision information as well as community complaints, and ongoing dialogue with the community through members of our department. So all of this represents our collective work to be responsive to these quality of life issues in the Canal. As this project team has continued to move forward with the presentation, the police department has continued to participate. Most recently, the leadership of the police department met with the project team this past week to listen to the concerns at this point in the project and to collaborate with the group on a path forward to not only hear what the specific issues are, but to develop a means to specifically address these concerns. The police department is committed to continuing to work with the community. We're eager to formalize a structure with this project team to work out ways to mitigate these significant quality of life and public safety issues. So to this end, the police department is committed to formalizing a community safety committee. In the work of our meeting last week, we have set a meeting to invite the leadership of the project team to the Public Safety Center so we can really push forward identifying specific metrics, specific objectives, and specific goals to mitigate the issues that you've heard through these presentations this evening. So with that, I would just again underscore my thanks and appreciation to the community members who have worked so hard and committed to bringing this forward, and to share with them that the police department remains a committed partner as we work forward to address these concerns. With that, I believe I will turn it back to the council if there's any questions, unless Walter had something to wrap this up.
Okay.
Thank you. And that concludes that presentation.
Thank you so much. Well, that was fantastic, but don't go anywhere yet because we're going to have some questions and comments. So the way that we normally do it, we have questions that we ask either of the presenters or of staff, and then we'll have public comment, and then we will all be able to make comments just on the project itself. So we'll start with if there are any specific questions about the presentation or what we heard from Director Guerin or Chief Spiller or Assistant Manager Alilovich. So any questions? Okay, so I'll start with the Vice Mayor.
Thank you for the presentation. I think my question is first to Director Guerin. In terms of the timing of the improvements that I got some are done, some are pending, some are waiting funding, and I was wondering if there's a timeline at this point.
Excuse me, again, PG&E has to approve the power poles, but DC Electric can move fairly quickly once those are in place. The approvals are in place. So I think that can happen in the next 3 to 5 months, something like that. Again, pending PG&E approval. Lighting the Pickleweed Park area should be something that can be done in-house by Public Works staff. So we're looking at that right now, and that should happen in the same 2 to 3 month time frame. The Bahia pathway is something that'll take some time to put in place in the BCDC regulatory process. I hate to say it is just really tough to figure out. But you know, I think that's probably a year away if we're lucky. And then it really depends on how they respond to that idea, because there are challenges associated with lighting a path that faces the water, and there's endangered species concerns and things like that. So I'm not exactly sure if we'll get approval for those, but certainly we'll work towards that end. As far as the community-based transportation plan effort and the work that's associated with that, We will go after grant funding as soon as that's done, and that should be done in the next couple months. The report itself should be finished in the next couple months. As far as the sidewalk shaving goes, that contract is being let right now, so that's going to happen almost immediately. And then the sidewalk replacement, where it's necessary, we still have to look into that and identify where exactly that needs to happen, but it is something that can help happen relatively quickly as well.
And thank you for the updates. That's really helpful. And I know it sounds painful in terms of timing, but that's actually extremely fast in terms of a lot of the work that comes through these departments. I think that timing is great. Are those dates and projects actually visible to the community in terms of, on the website or provided to the group? How is that being communicated back and forth?
There are a couple different things associated with that. Some there's a website on the community-based transportation plan. Don't think I have anything on the lighting yet, but certainly we'll put that in place, and then we'll keep going from there. We'll definitely get it on the Public Works website and get information out to people.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for that suggestion.
Thank you. Councilmember Hill.
Yes, among the recommendations, I noticed cameras, which I know in this day and age has a surveillance and privacy concerns. Does staff have any considerations for how we can achieve surveillance without violating privacy?
I see Chief Spillers jumped on, and I know he wants to address this question. And I just want to ask the chief to kind of break it down a little bit between kind of what we could look at from a private property standpoint versus public property.
Yeah, thank you, City Manager Schutz. So yeah, I was going to offer, I think there's a lot of, as we continue to work with the leadership of this group, there's a lot of options that we can pursue. One of the strategies that the police department is currently working on, and we're really eager to push forward with community members in the Canal, is our camera registry program. We have a private surveillance camera registry. So anybody in the community who has private security footage at their own private property, they can register that with the police department. That is a investigative tool that our detectives can use. As it was referenced in the testimony, having information or quote unquote proof of what has taken place isn't a requisite for a criminal investigation, but it certainly helps in terms of providing leads and specific follow-up for our investigators. So as we amplify that camera registry, that is certainly an option. There's also a mini grant opportunity through the city where a private property owner can apply for this mini grant to procure private surveillance equipment, and then again they can register that with the police department. There are other additional strategies that we can evaluate and consider from a public property perspective, but I think that would take a little bit more dialogue, not only with the project team, but with this body and city staff.
I appreciate that answer. And with respect to the mini grant, it would be great to communicate to the community how to apply for those mini grants. It would be great. Absolutely. And in fact, just as an add-on, we are, our investigations group is doing a campaign to kind of re-inform the community on the camera registry, as well as our willingness to have community meetings on the topic and work with apartment managers, management of multi-unit complexes as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Bushy.
I have two questions, one for Director Guerin and one for Specialist Gonzalez. I'll start with the director because it's a very specialized question. The light fixtures that you are envisioning installing, will they have the shields on the side so that the light is where we want the light to be and not spilling into the neighbors' windows?
The way we handled that in the initial effort that we made to replace lights with LED lights is we got complaints from people where they were affected by that, and we will respond in the same way. The lights, you can design the LED lights so that they shine in a certain direction. So we're looking to have it shine on the sidewalk, shine on the street, not into the neighbor's window. But where complaints come up, we will certainly respond to those and put shields in place to make that to make it safer or nicer for people that are in their apartments.
Very good, thank you. And now my second question is for Specialist Gonzalez. This is just a phenomenal record that you have already developed in this project with what the chief calls the project team. What steps are you taking to preserve this record and to track all of the issues and thoughts and proposals that are coming up, some of which may not be practical to implement now? My concern is that we not lose those and that we maintain the record of all those ideas, and perhaps at some point in the future the facts will align so that we can address that issue.
Yeah, sure. So we have been working with Assistant Manager Alilovich to just continue to communicate with the group. I think that's a great way that we've done that. And then storing wise, all of the paperwork and all of the documentation, we do have copies of that as well. And I don't know if Christine, would you like to add anything else to that?
Sure. I just thought I'd hop on, Walter and Councilmember Bushy. It's a great question. I feel like the partnership that we've developed with this project team is most definitely going to last. That workshop where we documented and the conceptual map, there's a whole, like the 6 thematic recommendations, there's a lot behind that. And so we have all that documented, and we are, from a staff perspective, what I've been saying over and over again is this presentation is the beginning, not the end of this great conversation and partnership where we can continue to troubleshoot some of, all of these issues, because it's really about quality of life. I mean, it's public safety, but it really gets down to quality of life. So I just wanted to offer the reassurance that we are committed to staying connected with Voces del Canal, Canal Alliance, and Dominican. And since I'm back on for a moment, I did want to make a special recognition of Walter. I meant to do that earlier. He has been incredible on this project. He's just really carried the city team and made sure, to your point, that we are following through and we are taking action and we are going to stay accountable to all these great ideas. So thank you very much.
Well, and just to wrap that up, though, I think it is important, sort of from a strategic level, to maintain like a library, like a roadmap of how you bring the community in, how you perform the detailed analysis that we've seen, bring forward the conclusions, the recommendations, and follow it through. I think there's a lot to be learned there as a roadmap for other entities to follow, and for us to have readily available. And I would hate for this to get lost. As we know, people move on to other things, and we want to make sure that all of our successors can benefit from this great project.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more that I think this is a model that we should replicate. And I think I better understand your question now. We can make an effort. This is a community engagement partnership that I also want to recognize Jennifer as the professor. She didn't present tonight, and I appreciate the project team for doing the presentation, but Jennifer and Julia really designed the co-creation of that workshop that made it so special and unique. And that model is something that we want to continue to work with Dominican on. We want to continue to work with community groups and community members on. So I hear your recommendation to us, and I think it's a really good one, and that we can document that whole process and what the design was. I hope Dominican will allow us, because they really led that effort to make that workshop happen. It's one piece of the process, obviously, but to your point, the whole is working on solving really important community problems together is how we're going to get stuff done moving forward. So we'll definitely make an effort to do some special documentation on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Micah.
Yes, thank you so much. I definitely have comments, but I'm going to say that for later.
Okay.
I do have two questions. One of them was related to Councilmember Bushy because I have read like all the feedback that Voces del Canal has gathered is incredible, and I'm glad that Christina was recognizing Jennifer because this is her sabbatic year that she has dedicated her time to this project. And I have the level of the quality of this project, both as the Canal going in the community, gathering the data, but then the way that the data was analyzed, I was like in awe. I feel like we are so lucky to have this partnership and how everybody has dedicated so much time. And I said I was going to do the comments later, so to my question.
Okay, to your question.
Sorry, I get like distracted. Is like an amazing project. So I guess my question was like, there is like an amazing data. We have seen like the most important things from the report, but there are so much to it. So is this document actually, you were talking about the library, but like, is it available for people to be able to read it? And is it in Spanish and English? I don't know if you got to the point to translate the entire document and if it's something that could be available for people to read. Yes. So yeah, I would love to hear you as well.
Welcome.
Thank you. In terms of documentation, we're still in the process of creating a report, but at Dominican, we also have some of the same desires and concerns about accountability, continued partnership, documentation. And so I know next year, moving forward, those are going to be some of the things that we would like to focus on at the university in collaboration with the city and Voces del Canal. So yes, it's also on our radar. And as of right now, we don't have a finalized report, but we're definitely thinking about that and would like to have that hopefully over the next academic year.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
And if you could introduce yourself just so.
Oh, I'm Jennifer Lucco from Dominican University.
Yes, thank you. I knew that, but not everyone did. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So my second question is like, I'm so excited about the lighting and I know Bill and the team is going to make it happen super quickly because I just know how he acts and I'm very impressed. My question is, when we're thinking about lighting, there is the lighting that we need right away. And then there is the beautiful fixture lighting that makes the neighborhood look really nice. So can you talk a little bit about that? And what are we thinking?
We're going for fast, not beautiful, at least in the short term. There are several light fixtures, particularly on Canal Street, that are historic fixtures. We're going to actually be replacing those lights in the near term through a completely different contract of lights that were skipped during the PG&E effort. A bunch of lights that were missed that were non-standard lights, and they're being replaced across the city. And several on the Canal Street will be replaced at the same time. The lights we're looking at are Cobra heads. They're like the typical ones that you see everywhere. I think once we do that, I would welcome the opportunity to sort of revisit the whole lighting with the group of people, see where we're still missing, and then continue to add over time to make sure that we get lights everywhere where they're needed. I'll just say sort of non-standard fixtures are way more expensive than the sort of standard things that you see on the street. So we're really looking to, in my mind, go for quantity, not quality at this point in time. In any case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do we need to switch interpreters? Are we okay? I wasn't sure of the timing.
We'll just be having one interpreter for the remainder of this item.
Okay, just checking. Okay. Thank you. And I just had two questions, and I'm not sure if it goes to Walter or to Assistant Manager Lilovich. So part of the presentation we heard was around smoking in the parks. And so is there signage there? I had thought there was signage there, but I was wondering if there might be some pretty, I don't say easy fixes, but communication of what type of behavior is okay and not okay. So can you speak to that? Or I see Christine coming on. So both the smoking and other poor behavior of drinking alcohol, I mean, that we should have signage that 100% says that's not allowed.
Yeah, I to your point about signage, Mayor Kate, I'm not 100% sure. That's something we can definitely improve on, no matter what. So we'll work on that. But I'm going to call on Chief Spiller as it relates to the kind of nuisance concerns, because I think that's really his area.
Okay, Chief.
Of course, Mayor Kate, happy to jump in. So yeah, there is signage. I think we could probably manage an evaluation of whether the signage is totally appropriate or what improvements we can make. And I know Director Guerin's department is super helpful in terms of being responsive to those types of things. Our staff, the police department, both patrol resources, street crimes resources, are all available and responsive to these calls for service and the balance of other calls for service that we're managing. So our work to address this unsavory activity is not only through warnings, but also through citation or arrest. So the issue of signage, we could evaluate that, but there are signs prohibiting that activity.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question, and Walter, I'm not sure if it's part of the project team that would answer this. I was curious if anything around bus stops came up. I didn't hear that in the presentation, both lighting there or sitting or just anything having to do with bus stops. So I would love to hear from the team around that.
Yeah, I'll take. We didn't. I don't recall having much discussion about bus stops when we did the city / Canal Line / Voces del Canal conversation. But maybe I will invite that to turn that to them and maybe see.
Oh yeah, so Director Guerin, and then I see Marina's nodding her head. So
the community-based transportation plan, there's been a lot of discussion about bus stops and how to make improvements to bus stops, specifically lighting, making them more attractive to people, making them more welcoming, making them feel safer. There was even a comment that was made about consolidating bus stops that would lend itself to a larger bus stop in the Canal area where a couple bus stops are close together. So a lot of ideas in discussion with Marin Transit and Golden Gate Transit around bus stops and what we can do to improve them. And I know those ideas came from the community in the community-based transportation plan.
thank you. No, I appreciate that. It hadn't been mentioned in the presentation, and I didn't want to assume that was also an issue that should be addressed. Yeah, would you like to speak to that?
Bueno, nuestra respuesta a esta pregunta es, hace unos años nosotros hicimos mención sobre las paradas. Yo me he dado cuenta porque camino mucho, por lo menos lo único que pusieron fue cuando ya arriban los buses, el horario en que van a llegar, pero no, lo que sabemos es que los de transportación son los que están trabajando en esto de las paradas. Lo que sí les puedo mencionar es que son muy solitarias, da mucho miedo en la noche cuando vas a tomar el bus y hay mucha basura alrededor. Entonces, tenemos la esperanza que los de transporte hagan algo con esto de las paradas. Muchas gracias.
So I'm going to go right to the council for additional comments. I'll start with the vice mayor.
Well, I'd like to just echo what so many people have said in terms of thanking you and the collaboration and the work with Dominican. I hope many of the students who've been working on this project will continue on, as well as with Voices and with the city, because it is such an important project. The work that you put in between the talking to the community, the data, really sizing it up. I had a conversation with Jennifer. She had left already this evening, early on in the beginning parts of the project. And it was a conversation of, should we talk about the 7 routes, or only maybe we should just talk about 2? And I'm like, no, talk about 7. We'll work through what the issues are, but it's so important to bring everything forward. And don't, because the question was, is it too much? Are we asking for too much? And it's like, no, you ask. It's important to ask. The other part I just want to mention is these doors are always open to come and talk to us. and bring questions and concerns about the community. And you don't need to have the full report and the data. It's lovely to have that. And we might ask questions around where is the data, but you don't always have to have that. And I think you have broken new ground. That has not been in, that I've been here for 2 years, broken new ground of bringing forward from the canal and from the community more than what we've heard before, even within the school district. So thank you for that. I do want to go about direction to the staff. I hope that even though we do see that these are some of these projects are short term in our definition, we may need to also look at really, really short term and medium and long. Because I think when we talk to the community, we're hearing 6 months or a year or 3 years. That's really long. So, and that was my editorial comment, is 3 years. That wasn't from you. I know that. So, but we need to make sure that it's what is like the reasonable time frame. Because when we are talking about security and we are talking about safety, a year is a really long time. And so we need to think about, are there even shorter terms things that we can do as options as we go through this work? And I think in terms of the work that I'm learning and about equity, this is our work. This is exactly what we need to do to move, to put more energy, more funding, more attention into areas that we have not previously done. These doors have been open for our majority of our community for years and has been taken advantage of in many cases, that we've heard those voices a lot. We have not heard the voices from the canal a lot. And so now you again have broken this new ground for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Go to Councilmember Yorenz Gulati, her district.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can I say? This is like the happiest night. Being able to have you here, I will repeat what I mentioned before. I think not just the way you have brought the community together, we both as the Canal and Canal Alliance, but the partnership with Dominican University, the students, Jennifer, I mean, the work is amazing, the way that you have analyzed the data, the way that you have presented tonight and really identified the 5 main issues and the solutions, because I was mentioning about reading that report because there are other things too, like, how do you call it? Like the fake grass, like, thank you. The turf grass, that we need to put like in Picklewick Park. We are working, the city is working like around garbage. And right now there's like a big, project talking to the owners of the apartments around garbage, maybe around private cameras. I think there is a lot that is happening right now. But the way you have really brought the voice from the community, this is not about lighting. This is really, about safety. It's about like mental health. It's about physical health. It's really about our community to be able to feel safe, that you can actually get out of your house and be a community. So, and it's extremely important. It is urgent. So I'm really excited that I know that our public works is really, I have been very, very, should I say, surprised when I joined the council of how effective our cities and our public works. So I know that the lighting is going to be happening very soon. I think some of the things that they were identified, some of them were very easy to implement and very easy. Easier to implement and shorter term. Some of them are like, it's going to take longer. It would be great to have a bridge connecting the canal with Montecito. So, but I think the dream is there, the report is there, and I know that our council is very supportive of the canal. I represent District 1. This is my district, and this is my focus. And definitely, you have my commitment. And one thing I just wanted to mention is that the presentation was incredible, but there's nothing like going to the canal at night and just walk the streets, park your car, and then walk the streets. It is really dark, and I think you can get a better picture. Plus, it's a great community, and they have great food. So I really invite everybody to go at night and do that. So again, thank you. I think this is like, I'm so grateful, and it's a gift to the city to be able to have this partnership. So really appreciate you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Bushy.
Thank you. I want to congratulate the project team. You folks have cracked the code. You have put together the playbook for how to be persuasive with your city government. You guys had all the work done. Public Works, they're running out there doing your bidding. That's what you want to do, and you guys have figured out how to do it. And that is just a great step forward for both of us. But we particularly value it because with that playbook, you can get other things done. You figured out, you've built this is not an event, you come make a presentation and go back to the way it was. No, you figured out how to do this. And so you can do the next thing and go to the next level of government. And then the next entity that needs to be persuaded to do things that will benefit the city of San Rafael and our residents, and particularly the ones in your neighborhood. So congratulations. It's a job well done. We hope to be seeing you in the future with more things for us to do.
Thank you. Councilmember Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. And what I'm going to say will sound very similar, but maybe a little different. I sit here inspired by your presence, by your words, this culmination of testimonials assembled together. I am persuaded deeply by what you are asking for, which is safety, which is quality of life, which is what you deserve. So despite all of the specific recommendations, I hold us accountable to making certain that people feel safe ultimately, whether it's lighting or something that's not even recommended yet, but we start here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll just conclude by saying my colleagues all spoke beautifully, as well as all of you. Really, the stories and the data were beautifully presented. And I know folks at home can't see it, but the posters that are in the lobby are incredible. Really shows all the hard work you have done. One of the policy areas that this council is committed to is social and racial justice. And that means being in partnership and in collaboration with our community. We can't do that sitting here by ourselves. It actually cannot happen. It can only happen with you all. And you have showed up. You showed up for your community, but really you showed up for all of San Rafael. And I know the project was specifically the ones that impacts you, but really it's representative of how the type of city we want to be, and we're going to continue to work to be. So thank you. I want to reiterate the thanks to Voces, to the 9 women. I'm just going to say 9 women. Just leave that for a second. The Dominican University, Canal Alliance, and all the participants on the city side. So look forward, as Councilmember Bushy said, we look forward to future meetings where you are here. And as Councilmember Micah said, you have given a gift to the city. So thank you for that. The motion or the act before us is to accept the report. And I will clarify, we're actually not specifically talking about the dollar allocation. That will be part of the CIP, which of course I don't want to use the acronym. Thank you, Capital Improvement Project. So that will be a later action, but you have the council's word that that number is going to be in the CIP. The action before us tonight is to accept the report, and I will look to Councilmember Micah for a motion.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure to accept the informational report regarding the canal lighting project. And the recommended action is to accept the report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushy.
Aye.
Councilmember Hill.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kurtz.
Aye.
Councilmember Yerens Galati.
Aye.
Mayor Kate.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0.